you are gonna see some cool ass shit.
Yeah, you don't want two flavor plays.
Heart transplants, brain surgeries. I've seen it all.
Dude, that's fucking dope. Walk up and just get it, whatever it is.
Yeah, brother.
I'm trying not to laugh, bro, but Josh is fucking killing me.
Guess what Navy SEALs do, motherfucker? They communicate and they're on the same fucking page.
Whoa. Welcome, everybody, to the Happy Hoodlums podcast. It is a very special episode this week. It's your host, Kemper Woodruff, the Happy Hoodlum himself. We got the very powerful Mr. Zachary Sampson, the Meat Fortress. We got the baby hoodlum, always up to no good, Mr. Josh Taylor, and a very near and dear friend to my heart, Miss Kaitlynn Dela Peña. And she's here repping the Oregon Raiders. And this is big because, you know, bringing football not only to the female community, but to Oregon is huge. You are the only professional team that we have as of right now. And that's big.
Yes. Yeah. We are the highest level of women's professional football. So it's a pretty awesome community to be a part of. Never thought I would be in football, but here I am enjoying it.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
And I love that you got all your gear so that way everyone knows too. Let it be known.
Yes.
Probably gonna get sued after this, but
No.
So
We love the exposure.
yeah, exactly. Can't get enough of that. So Kaitlynn and I met back in high school, and I guess we can start there and kind of start oracling, or even as a kid, maybe, you know, what growing up was like for you and how you wound up falling into football.
I have one specific question. Were you playing football in high school?
No.
No?
No. I did powder puff, which is like, you know, a week long of like practice, and then you're wearing a t-shirt.
And
we have one game as junior and senior.
4 of the football players or whatever. Yeah.
And it seemed like
the juniors, seniors, whatever it is.
I got you.
And at that time, it was like we were so young that the biggest deal that was made out of that was like the dudes shaving their legs to do cheer.
To be the cheerleaders. That was literally the hype of it, is to see the guys be cheerleaders.
Yeah.
Not really to see the girls play.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my pink tutu.
I never did any sports.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I said, oh, how the tables turn.
Yeah. I know we need some male cheerleaders out here. If you guys want to do it.
I got you there.
Count me in.
Yeah.
Go.
I'll go flip around for a couple.
Go Ravens.
Go.
Yeah, go Ravens.
For a couple dollars, you do it.
Yeah.
A couple of dollars. I'll do it for free.
Yeah.
We gotta
the
mail
crowd
him.
will hype you up.
Yeah, we gotta get him in from Mississippi.
Hey.
But so growing up, what was that like for you, and how has football really changed your lifestyle?
Oh man. Well, growing up, I didn't do any sports. I was more like a play type of girl in the school plays and that type of stuff, like in the book clubs, chess club. Sports never really, it interested me, but at the same time, I had a single mom, and so I didn't want to have her pay for the sports because she didn't qualify for reduced anything. So I just kind of had that guilt as a kid of, oh, what if I don't like it? I don't want her to drop all this money, and then, you know, I don't like the sport, or if we can't afford it, whatever. So I just never really pursued it. And also, as you guys might not know or really understand, but being plus size and female in high school, there's a lot of insecurities that you have, and you don't want to be the biggest person on the team. And that's kind of always been my general mindset of being in sports, of like, oh, you know, like I'm too big to play. Like I don't want people looking at me and being the last person. But joining this has showed me it's like, it doesn't really matter what your body type is, as long as you go out there and put in the effort. It's a team. They're going to hype you up. They're there to support you and support each other. And you just get better, and you only improve within yourself and grow more confidence. So
Yeah.
that's been a huge thing for me. Um, joining the team, especially like even if I am the last one around the lap, it's like whatever. They're cheering me on. Like let's do
Mm-hmm.
this. Let's go out there together and whoop some ass. So
Exactly. And
it's been great.
being on the line, we'll get into that in a second. But being on the line is like, you're fighting in close proximity anyways. So that it's a
Yeah,
different kind of endurance. It's like
it
explosive
is.
and then chill for a sec. Explosive,
Yeah.
then chill for a sec.
Yes, it is. It is. It's and you don't really think of it like in practice. We have a longer breaks in between because it's like, oh no, what do we mess up on? We might talk about it for a few seconds, but when you're in the game, you don't have time to do that. And your heart is racing like 1,000. The pre-workout is hitting. You're just sweating. It's like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
Last game that we had against Utah, they were some really big girls, and I was like, ooh, my heart was pounding so hard.
Yeah. Hey, so
Um,
I have a question. This is a total dude moment, okay?
yeah.
So whenever I ever get my girl like flicker in the tit or something, she's always like, "Oh, how do you girls fight on the line so fiercely?"
Um, I have a padded shirt on. It's crazy because the pads hit like right above here. I don't have pads on today, luckily, because we have a game Saturday, so we're just doing it in jerseys right now. Um,
Hmm.
but I also have on like 2 or 3 bras and then another shirt, and then that has pads underneath. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm full on protection. I think the hardest time when it like actually hurts my boobs is when we're in practice and we have to fling ourselves on the ground and I'm like, yo, I can't do
Oh,
this.
yeah. Protect the
When you're
cheekies. You know
yes,
what I'm
when
saying?
you're in like bear pose or whatever and then you just like launch forward, like it's not for me. I get the wind knocked out of me, it hurts my boobs, like I don't like it.
Yeah. You know, that was one of the things that Franklin's field was so unforgiving. So, do you guys have turf where you're practicing?
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
It's
thank
turf.
God, because I tell you what,
Yeah.
I only played in like eighth grade with formal pads and everything like that. Otherwise, I was always playing basketball and shit like that for organized sports. But
Mhm.
Franklin's field had all these cleat marks, and so you would jam your thumbs
Oh
in the
fuck.
holes of the cleat marks. So thank goodness for turf.
Yeah. Yes. It's a little forgiving. I mean, if anything, I just have bruises all over my hands from face masks and my fingers getting jammed in there. And
Yeah.
then I get like massive bruises on my arms from I get like little finger indents. Like
Oh
there's like
yeah,
little
you're like
dots everywhere. Yeah.
you go to work and you're like, I promise I'm not being abused. I signed up for this.
Yeah. I know. I know. I hate to make a joke of like domestic violence, but it's like, oh, are you okay? It's like, yes, yes, my boyfriend is not hurting me. This is from football.
Yep, exactly. I'm just a
I am
badass.
fine.
Don't worry about
Yeah.
it. So,
This is girl on girl crime, not
yeah, it's a crime of passion, is what it is.
yeah,
So,
exactly.
it really seems to me like as I was going over the Oregon Ravens website, that a lot
Mhm.
of what this team really stands for too is crushing stigmas and really liberating women to express themselves in a way that's not conventional. And that comes down to
Yeah.
even seeing some of the pictures of like the women doing like battle cries and stuff. And at
Mhm.
first I was like, it's so counter to what I'm used to seeing.
Yeah. It's really
And
about equality.
mhm,
That's what like we can do it too. It may, it's not the same level, of course, as men, just because genetics and like physique and everything, but it's a different level of
mhm.
women's sports.
And I think it's going to be an interesting thing for people to watch, especially like women are built like much thicker on their lower body. Like they got fucking trunks of legs, some of them.
Yeah.
And so I'm interested to see how the tackling dynamics and things change, you know?
Mhm. Do I'll be honest, I don't watch a lot of football.
Mhm.
Um, so this is the most that I have done. I'm not really sure like what it men look like as much when they tackle. But we just go for the waist as well, for the legs just as much. Um, our head coach, one of his favorite things to say is get them big legs moving. So you're right
Yep.
on par with women and thicker legs, and a lot of the power comes from our hips and thighs, and we have to use a different like I guess muscle. Like I don't know, men, you work on the outside of your feet. We're supposed to work on the inside and really channel the hips and like thrust to lift.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're right on par with with big legs.
Yeah, because I just remember like when I would be playing football, there's such a difference in a lot of like the sizes, and you get a lot of like really lanky dudes playing, and then you
Mhm.
also have like short, stocky dudes. Like, rest in peace to Paul. I tell you what, the first
Oh
day
yeah.
I went to go like tackling practice, and they gave us pads and stuff. I had to go heads up with
Hmm.
Paul. My first lineup ever, right? And
Yeah.
so he was so good at
He
changing
hit you at
level.
like the chin, right? He was
No,
short.
no,
He was at your chin.
no. So basically, what happened was we were going heads up, right? So they hand me the ball
Hmm.
and they're like, when we blow the whistle, you just go forward. And he was so genius at this level changing thing that basically he would let you take your first step and he would give you like a fake, right? And not only was he shorter than you, so he has a lower center of gravity, right? But he would get
Yeah.
real close and drop like so quick. It would be like he would let his body completely go limp, so he would just shoot down and then plant his feet and come up, right?
Oh
And
fuck
so
yeah. Mhm.
me standing taller than him, I went to like push his head down and stiff arm him, and I got my fingers right into his helmet, and this finger went just like that. And that's the only reason
Oh.
why I can still do it to this day. My whole finger was bent sideways behind my other fingers. First tackle, right? And
Nice.
I'm like,
Stretching out your
coach,
ligaments.
yeah, what do I do? And he goes, put a popsicle stick on it and get in line. Now,
Oh shit.
I don't know what the fuck he means at this point. I'm like, first of all, where the hell am I supposed to find a popsicle stick? And number two,
In the middle
what am I
practice.
supposed to do with it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It made no
Yeah.
sense. I just took my mangled little kid hand and just got back in line.
Dude, you gotta go
Ready
up to
for some
all
more beating?
you gotta go up to all the team moms and ask them if they brought the snacks for the practice today. Be like,
There
you
was
got
none of them.
popsicles?
None of the moms wanted to see their kids get smashed out the first day.
Dude.
So I was just me, no one to cry to, just suffer through it like a little warrior. But that's just a story of some goofy shit, some funny stuff that happens, but really to show how aggressive football can be and how accidents can happen real quick when you start throwing
Yeah.
bodies.
Throwing bodies and hard gear around and
Mm-hmm.
cleats. The
Mm-hmm.
first practice in January that I went to, I fell backwards and I cleated my inner thigh. I had a
Ooh,
massive bruise and I was like, oh fuck, this is real.
yeah,
Funny enough, it was like shaped like a dick too. Just coming out of my thigh.
that's great.
uh,
Has,
but yeah, go ahead,
have
Kemper.
you noticed like how awesome it feels to play with cleats on compared to like trying to run in gym class or something like that?
How awesome it is.
Yeah, I know that was a game changer for me. Like the first time I put cleats on, my ability to like cut and stuff.
I mean,
I
this
don't
is
know.
my first time ever wearing cleats,
Yeah.
so it's been challenging. Because you like maybe like grab somebody and they twist around and your foot is just planted in and you're like, oh okay, I guess I'm just gonna stand here and spin in one spot. Um,
Yeah.
but it's nice for the grip, like running. And it feels kind of cool when you're like running. There's that little turf trail behind you.
Mhm.
Um, but I don't know for ease. Really like I have to wear like 3 pairs of socks because they're just kind of loose. But it's pretty awesome. I don't know. I don't mind wearing them.
Yeah. So, how has football changed your relationship with you and your body?
Um, Hugely, actually. I take a lot more time recovering,
Mhm.
stretching, drinking water, Epsom salt baths.
Mhm.
Um, I bought a mustard bath bomb, but I haven't used it just yet. I'll probably use it after this next game. But taping myself has been huge. My knees, especially being on the line since we're squatting constantly. Um, I've had to adjust to helping that. And also like collagen, protein, had to intake that and water. So it's been a big change. But active recovery has been key. Going on like small walks on the days that we don't have practice because we have like practice 3 to 4 times a week. Um,
Mhm.
so it's pretty intense.
And has it changed in any ways, like non-physically, with things like your confidence level and how you see yourself? Has that changed at all over the process of becoming an athlete?
50-50. Uh, yes, I'll start the negative first. No, because these men uniforms suck ass. They are cut for straight, square bodies. They are
Yeah.
not cut for boobs, butt, hips, and thighs. Like that's just the way it is. So in the sense of the negative, sometimes it makes me feel bigger than I am because I'm
Okay.
like, this is not the size that I am in women's, and I'm like 2, 3 sizes bigger in football gear just because it's not cut for a woman's body. Um,
Mhm.
but out of the football clothes, yeah, it's made me feel a lot more confident and like it's a major workout. So it's changing the shape. We're so using so much upper body and lower body. Um, so it makes me feel like great about myself and like my abilities to, like my cardio's upped a little bit. My strength has gotten a lot stronger. It still needs to improve more to keep up with everything just because there are like bigger and stronger teams, but um, everything has significantly improved since January when I joined, and it's pretty
That's
awesome. But
so
yeah,
awesome. Continue. That's awesome,
but
though.
it's just these clothes. They're so short. I have to have everything's like hanging out. I'm like, why don't men have hips?
Yeah, that's for
I don't
sure.
know.
We're cut
I
like
definitely
boys.
have some. I don't, dude. I don't.
I, I'm sure you're still SpongeBob square.
Uh-uh. I got
Got
little
him.
like I got like
I'm
I've got
ready.
I've got two little Patrick Star stems like starting to grow
Oh,
out of me.
stems.
Yeah, like his
It's
arms,
okay.
like
The
or his
leg.
I don't I don't know.
What the fuck was that?
So
He's got 5 of
I
them,
have a
right? He's a
question.
star.
lo-
Yeah.
Logistic. Um, how do you guys go on like rotating? Because I see that you play O line and D line, right?
Yes. Yeah.
If you start on one, do you still start on the other and have to flip flop, or how does
No.
that work?
No. So we have our starting line and our starting D line, and then I'm more of a substitute for D line. Um, and I'm mainly on the O line. So it just kind of depends. Like the first game, I was not in the starting line, so I kind of rotated on both. And I don't have like a set position. I'm usually a guard, so I did start out practicing on the left, and now I've kind of mainly stuck to the right. But I will switch out on the left once in a while. Um, and then we have different defense calls where um, obviously I don't want to say any of our plays, but
Yeah.
if we're doing like a certain one, we might put in like some of the bigger girls for the D line.
Mhm.
And so then that way it's, you know,
Mhm.
there's a
Yeah,
mix.
We
But
got
this
you.
is the art of war, so you don't gotta
We're following.
let any of the secrets out. I'm just curious
yeah.
because I know, like, even though I'm skinny, right?
Mhm.
I was playing outside linebacker in 8th grade, right?
Yeah.
And I remember my homie Taj would play on the DN position, and so he'd be right in front of me, and we would always. He wanted to be a linebacker so bad, and I hated having to contain when the run would come out and stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
I like the chaos of being on the D line, especially DN, because it's just go in there and wreak havoc, you know.
Just fuck it up. Yeah.
And so,
That's
can
what I
you
like
get
to.
into? Yeah, exactly. Can you get into the different roles that you play for people that might not know football, especially if there's any ladies like looking at this or whatever, and they're like, "What would I want to play?" So you can kind of go over nuances.
I mean, most of my experience is on the line, so that's all I can really speak to. But, um, you know, actually, wait, restate that question.
So I guess it's like what I'm saying is, do you have different assignments that make the positions more fun for you playing on offense versus defense, and just
Okay.
kind of touching on each position a little bit?
Yeah. So offense, I started out really liking offense because that's what we mostly practiced, and it also made me feel a little more special being a rookie and starting on the O line, just because it's the more technical aspect. Like you have to know the plays and know where the ball's going, know our calls. Like, are we, is it going to be the center and guard? Is it going to be the guard and tackle? Who's got who. So it just feels like special where you're like, all right, yeah, I know my shit. Like I know what's going on. But then there's also that still panic of like, oh shit, like they called the play and it's like, what am I doing? And then you have to look over to, your tackler and it's like, which one are we doing? So it's a lot of pressure, but sometimes it's good pressure, if you know what I mean. Um,
Hmm.
and it and it's I don't know. I just really enjoy it. I feel like I've heard multiple times of, the smarter you are, the closer you are to the ball. Now I don't want to touch the ball, but I like I am right next to it, and you do feel very protective of like you can't touch this shit. Like I'm gonna stop you. Now for D line, it's really like you don't really have to think about how much. Just fucking bust through and hurt somebody or get that ball. Um, so it depends on like how angry you are, like what your mood's in. I've also been doing like different positions of going into like a 4-point stance, which makes you feel like a real animal. You
Hmm.
can just go through and bust through the line, um, and hurt somebody. Um, and that's kind of been also a mindset that you have to get into of like, this is an aggressive sport. You can't be nice. And that's kind of been a little bit of a hard mental shift. Like, I'm getting meaner, but I need to just get like full on, like, fuck you, let's fuck this up. But still, like, I'll pick you up afterwards
Yeah. See,
and we
I
can
love
all,
that.
yeah.
Because you're starting to touch on really what the essence of true equality is coming to understand that there's a defined feminine energy and masculine energy,
Yeah.
and I think society wise, we're starting to see that there is a place for violence and a need to express aggression, in a way that's not um, unhinged,
Mhm.
and I think sports are a great way to do that. And I want to share with you a little something that the military talks about, and it's called an OODA loop. And I was talking
Okay.
with Zack about this, okay? So it's basically dealing with what's called stress shock phenomena, which is that deer in the headlights, that stunned
Mhm.
moment where your brain is like, I don't know what to do, right? Because you're
Yeah.
overwhelmed.
Yes.
Um, and so the OODA loop is to help take you from being reactionary to proactive, right?
Mhm.
And so it stands for observe, orient, decide, and act, right? And
Okay.
so the goal is to keep your opponent caught in your loop, right? So you know what you're going to do, and then they get hit with it. And now they have to constantly be trying to reorient while you're deciding and acting based
You're in
on
control of it.
it. Yeah. And so it's interesting because being on the line, you're dealing with two different styles of the OODA loop, right?
Mhm.
And seeing who can pull which off, right? And so there's this element of say like on the O line, you know what's going on. The question is can I do this, right?
Yeah.
Defensively, it's almost like poker. It's like, all right, I got to read this shit ahead of
Mhm.
time. I have a brief understanding of where I think it might be going, but I'm going to have to decide based off of this action that I'm doing. And it's
Yeah.
the constant battle.
Yes, the assumption of like, I think it's gonna go this way because we have our calls. Is it gonna strong left, strong right? And then that's
Mhm.
based on how we're gonna line up. And I think that's across the board. And then you just have to read like, all right, where's the linebackers? There, are there more receivers over here? What's going on over on this side? Like, what do we think's gonna happen?
Mhm.
So,
And
and then on the O line, it's like, oh shit, is there a backer that's going to come up and blitz in the middle? Are they just going to run off to the other side? Is it going to hit me? Like, is my assignment going to get downed or is it, what are we doing? So you have to have the confidence and assess and just say, like, yeah, I'm going to commit to you and I'm going to push you back.
okay, so I have a question as well. I'm full of questions, as you can tell.
Yeah.
And
Well, you are a
Zach
podcast
and
host,
Jake,
right?
yeah. You guys fill in where you go. Otherwise, I'm gonna just keep throwing questions out. But are there any things that surprised you that you were totally not expecting to get out of the experience of playing football? Um, just like in any regard, maybe what it's like to have a coach for the first time versus never having experienced that, the teammates. You guys have a very diverse team, so I'm sure there's a ton of
Yeah.
elements that you encountered.
It's all so new to me that it's all I wasn't expecting to have the like community right off the bat. There's so and I don't know if it's because, we're women or what, but everybody is just so welcoming and it's like you joined, you're a Raven forever. Once a Raven, always a Raven, like family forever. And it's so awesome to just have like that community behind you of 50 something players. You just have that support, like, oh, you're having a party, we're gonna go out afterwards. Like, no matter what, like obviously not 50 people are gonna show up, but you're gonna have at least like a handful, like 10 people show up for you. And so to have that kind of community has been really like heartwarming and nice to have. And you just have like these group chats, and it's like, wow, look at all these people like chit chatting and staying up to date in people's lives. And it's like, hey, does anybody have an extra, gloves, whatever? It's like, we got you. And it's nice, like it's such a nice feeling to have that kind of community. And I've never experienced that, like being a part of a team. Um, Also, I expected to obviously start to like football, but I'm getting more and more invested as the season progresses, and it makes me think of like, all right, like next year I'm gonna be in much better shape. I'm gonna know what the hell's going on. And really, it's like the hurdle of what we're learning, and then mashing it with like what actually happens in a real play. Um, so that's been like a bigger learning curve than I thought, but it's also great because you're like, oh, okay, so there's all these different scenarios that come up, and it makes you think more. It makes you get more invested and to learn, understand like what's going on, and then how to just read plays. Um, so football's kind of been my life the past couple of months, and it's just bombarding me, but I love it at the same time.
Yeah. Do you think that you're gonna become a NFL fan now?
Maybe. Yeah. Once I understand the game a little bit more and see it in the bigger picture, like when I do watch football, it's mostly how a play is in relation to the line. And
Hmm.
that is making me understand things, slowly but surely. Um, so we go to a practice called Line Pro also, and there's our teacher named Lenny, and he's great. He's so informative. He was part of Oregon State, I believe.
Hmm.
So his knowledge and his examples, it really helps a full circle come in my brain, of like what we're doing, and it's like, oh, okay, like yeah, the play is going in this way, and he says, you make your butt be a camera, and you're trying to take a picture of the person, so you push it away. Um, you're pushing the person away from the play, and then you're taking a picture of them with your butt, is basically how he explains it. And it's like, oh, all right, that makes sense.
Yeah. It's interesting too. because there's only so much that we get from like monkey see, monkey do. But as you
Hmm.
begin to immerse yourself in an experience, it really begins to reveal all these nuanced layers of like, you might be watching football and you'll see things that no one else sees, even though you're looking at this one section, right? Because you're like,
Yeah.
oh, how he just shot his hand up there and chopped that dude right up under his pad or whatever. I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna
Yeah.
use that. There's a lot of different
Yeah.
strategies that you can get, and like where to
Different
hit people.
strategies and techniques.
Yeah,
Yes.
solar plexus versus up under your armpits and things like that to get leverage. It's very nuanced, but I kind of want to double back on this community thing because
Yeah.
the amount of life that like poured out of you and absolute joy, you know,
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that is what everyone's missing. And I think what goes heavily misunderstood in society, even when we look at things like gangs and stuff, is that
Yeah.
it's a community. And what you guys are doing, not only is it bigger than you, but you're basically going to war. And I used to say this like,
Yeah.
is that this is something that had kind of in the modern day basically been relegated to the male side of things mostly. And it's when you go out and you're like, I remember in high school having to go to fight somebody, right? And then you get there and then it's like there's someone else that wants to fight me and your homie has to step up because you're busy over here. Win, lose, or draw, when you guys are coming back, you're like, I fucking got you. Like, yeah, like there's
Mhm.
something to the experience. And I think it's a human thing. And I think it's so beautiful
Yeah.
to see you discovering that because I don't think it's
Yeah.
going to be something all women want, you know? I do think it is counter to the nature because you are life givers, you know,
Mhm.
in a sense. And so
Yeah.
naturally you have a nurturing tendency, but that doesn't make you
Mhm.
less of a warrior. It doesn't mean you aren't
No.
just as explosive or able to be absolutely
They're
offensive and
powerful. Yeah.
yeah, and assault, you know? These are still
Yeah.
weapons, even if it's attached to a female body. You know, we're seeing it in the
Yeah.
UFC. We're seeing it all over, you know, boxing and
Mhm.
in all different kinds of stuff. It doesn't have to be necessarily violent, right?
Yeah.
For it to be a warrior spirit coming through you, you know?
Yes. Yeah. I it is, they preach that of like, you need to get aggressive and do this, and it's like we do it in our own way.
Hmm.
And I think also what our coaches are learning is, men, you can hype them up being like, "You're soft, you're this," like, "Oh, that looked like it was, teddy bears," but it's like that doesn't motivate us. Like, you need to we need to have positive reinforcement, and it's like, "Okay, critique me, but, like, don't call me like, don't say it's soft, like, that didn't help me."
Yeah.
That didn't
Wow.
help me, that didn't get me aggressive, like, you have to there are certain ways that you need to talk to women in order to, like, hype us up and, like, motivate us to get aggressive and teach us, and, um, some of the coaches, they have learned it's like, boys, you can just tell them like, just hit hard, just run, stay low and do this. And it's like, but what's going on back there? Like, what am I staying low for and like hitting for? And we need like the bigger picture in order. We need to conceptualize like what is going on. And it's like, okay, so that's the main goal. Like I'm protecting that. All right, let's go. And if you just take a minute to, explain things a little more in detail rather than just like just go, just hit it. Just fuck it up. Like that's not how you that's how you hype me up and everything. But once they start talking to you, um, in a more positive manner and like giving us positive reinforcement and telling us like this is why you're getting angry of like this is the main goal. It's like, all right, let's get together. We're banding together. We're coming to wall the line. Like we have to protect our little quarterback in the back, and we got to protect this ball. Like we got to make a hole for whoever is getting it in the back to run through. Um, and then it comes together and we're able to,
Hmm.
make the touchdowns and get the yards.
You know, that's
So,
interesting because I really, being a dude, I wouldn't have even thought of that, how different the coaching style must be. But I bet you that
mhm.
translates into life, and there's really like a different message in that too, because I'm always looking for like the philosophy of it, right? How we can be better
Mhm.
men and women, and how we can work better together.
Yeah.
And yeah, learning how to motivate someone is huge.
Mhm. Yeah. You can't just talk to, I don't wanna say, like, we're so different men and women, but it's just, like, you need to get to know the individual, and you need to know the group that you're talking to, um,
Hmm.
and, get feedback from them. If you don't get feedback, you need to be open to the feedback too, and our coaches are great at openly like, they're asking, like, "Is that working?" And it's just like, "Cut it out. You're not
Yeah.
hyping us up." If anything, you're making us roll our eyes.
Hmm.
But they're great at taking feedback, change, and then it improves, and it just helps the dynamic so much more. Um, and we just get stronger and stronger every practice that we have, and each game that we have. Like feedback of like, oh, I like to see us on film. Like, what are we doing? Because sometimes it's like you can only say like you're standing up straight up so many times, and it's just like, well, I feel like I'm staying low, but then once you actually see it on camera and you're like, "Wow, I'm walking up to her. I'm not even staying
Hmm.
low." So, and they've been great. They adjust. So it's really nice to have coaches that are male too, that are receptive to our critiques and they change and they help us. So that's been awesome to have. You don't
That's
usually get that
awesome.
when you're younger, like men who listen to like the women. Yeah, so to have that in a team, great.
Hmm. You
Yeah.
touched on something in the film aspect of it that when I look at like action sports, and just people at the highest levels, you got to look to the military. And so I've always been
Mhm.
fascinated with the military. And I went out and I took a class with a gentleman named John Shrek McPhee. So shout out to the sheriff of Baghdad. Um,
Yeah.
but he does everything based on video. And so there's tons
Oh,
of
okay.
people that will just say, "Hey, buy 500 rounds, come out to the range, and you'll shoot a lot and feel like you got a lot, but it's really you might have still used your bad habits in getting to that end
Yeah.
goal, and
Mhm.
so you're not at your maximum efficiency, you know, because
Yeah.
true true power requires very little effort, right? It can be fast, it's efficient, and
Mhm.
that's kind of the difference from when you hit someone just right and they just pancake, and you're like, oh shit, I got him. Like you feel
Yeah.
like you just steamrolled them and it was easier.
Mhm. Because everything
You,
is connecting. It's the
hmm.
practice is being put into action. And when you can actually
Hmm.
see your practice, it's like, okay, now things are clicking. Like what you're telling me is making sense and I can put it all together and actually put it into action and go. Um, but it's just like what you said, like you have the 500 rounds. It's like if you just blow through them, like how are you supposed to know how accurate you were in the first time? Like um it's funny enough, I just went shooting last weekend after, like I think I did, like, maybe 4 or 5 rounds, and then I, like, looked, took a picture to see, like, where I was aiming, and then I'd, like, shot some more, took a picture, and it's like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, like, every time is much better." And I can see the
Hmm.
difference, and it's like you have to do it one step at a time. You can't just go, like, full force. You need to take the time, see what you're doing, evaluate, and then, learn it, flip it, like and then improve and try again. And that's the
Yeah,
thing is like you
because
just gotta keep trying.
yeah, he was like, we're at the top levels of it. We're beyond Olympic level. We're the shit, He was like, we're
Mhm.
the best killers in the whole world. And when I'm in this shoot house using live ammo with my bros, we would be going through bang, 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 bang. And one time the dude was like, shot accountability. You shot here. And he was like, no, I didn't. And he said it wasn't until his like uh general, I guess, or whoever was running the shoot house drill for him, called him in and played the tape back and goes, round accountability. that was you.
Yeah. No,
He was
film
like,
does not lie.
yep,
It
it
doesn't
don't
lie.
lie.
It doesn't
And
lie.
yeah, it's beautiful to see. And I think one of the things that changed my whole mind was, or just kind of blew the doors off of my understanding, was seeing the shot timer. He was showing you, like, basically, I drove the gun up and he was like, look, why can't you shoot here? He was like, you're sitting there waiting when you can shoot. He was like, if your form is correct, right? Because I'm a
Mhm.
skinny dude, right? So if I shoot once and I'm on my heels, I'm gonna get pushed around. So I
Yeah.
have to make sure my form is impeccable. And he was like, but if your form's good, why can't you shoot here? And then he showed how much time you're actually cutting down, and it starts to make you
Yeah.
look at things differently. It's like, hey, do I really have to be, can I start this battle on the line and initiate
Okay,
this and
hold on.
engage? Yeah.
Let me.
You can just read her lips. I want a podcast.
Yeah. You gotta love it. It's that moment to shine, baby.
Let's go, finally, dude. Episode 69, dude. And we finally got someone to say I'm on a podcast to someone else.
Woo!
Did you hear me say
Let's
that?
go.
We
No,
can read your
I
lips.
read,
We
yeah,
were
we
just
read your
hitting
lips.
Oh,
You yelled
he
it
said, "Why
so,
are you?"
you,
notes,
yeah, you
but
yelled
we
it
got
so
someone
loud,
to
it just
say it.
looked natural. Like,
She might come up to me now. Let's see.
uh,
She
Hey,
was late too, and she's gonna yell at me.
hey, if you want to
Scandalous.
go, I know we don't want to take up too much of your time. Guys, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot before we say, hey, if you want to go down on the field and kind of show your girls whatever you want to do, you can.
hey, I got one
You want to
question.
see them?
Yeah, but it looks like Josh has a
Yeah,
question first. But
Oh
yes,
yeah,
we
super
would love
quick,
to
super
see
quick.
the team.
Do you have anywhere you post, like, not really post, or do you have a place where people can find clips of you playing football?
yeah. Well, the Oregon Ravens Instagram is where they put clips and plays. I sometimes post. I haven't posted as much. I'm just, I'm a little more, I guess, private, so to speak. Of like,
Yeah.
I put it out there. I'll send it to friends, but I don't really put it online. But I'll definitely start posting more stuff uh, soon about what we do. It's just during the season. You don't want to post too much stuff of what we're
Yeah.
practicing and everything. But the Oregon Ravens, our social media person, whoever it may be running the Instagram of the day, they're pretty great at doing updates of like, we're out here. Like today, it's raining. I think 95% of our practices have been in the rain, hail, or sleet, or wind. So, we're out here hustling. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where you can see it mostly.
That's gnarly.
Heck
That's
yeah.
gridiron gang
All
shit.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
Zach, you got any questions?
Yeah, I mean, I got one. When so a lot of people deal with like anxiety and stress and stuff like that. And what a lot of people find, including myself, is they find a way to release it through being physical, whether it be like physical labor or exercise and fitness. How is playing football and then the respective training for football helped reduce like your stress or your anxiety, or how has it improved your just overall mental fortitude, I
That
guess?
that's actually a really good question. So I so I have a full-time job as a legal secretary, and then I had a part-time job at a plant shop, just for fun. Um, and I was filling in January. I had actually quit like in the summertime, and then I was filling in January, and this girl came in. Um, I was just, making conversation because that's what you're supposed to do. And I was like, "Oh, do you lift?" Because I had started lifting over the past like year. She's like, "Well, kind of. I'm actually part of the Oregon Ravens." And I was like, "Oh, that's fucking badass! Like women playing football, like that's so cool." And we talked about it for like an hour. And then I joined, and I DM'd and I was like, yeah, yeah, I'll go to like a workout with you guys. And I was very anxious to show up because one, I was going alone, like, I had no idea, like, I just found out about the Oregon Ravens and, like, playing football. My football knowledge was 0, so there was the
Yeah.
anxiety of, like, "Are they even gonna, like, let me play? I don't know anything about football." And it's like, "You guys have already been together, is it too late to join?" Um, so it goes back to the community of, like, when I first showed up, they welcome you with smiles, and they're like, "Hey, welcome, like, this is what we're gonna do," and even if you look confused, they're just like, "Hey, like, how can I help you out?" And they're just so welcoming, so the anxiety and, like, the social anxiety aspect, it was really alleviated by how kind everybody is and how inclusive, and they want to help, and they want to encourage you, um, and everything like that, and even when and then, now fast forward to April, there's so many days where I'm just like, "Ah, I don't really wanna go to practice," but it's like, it's gonna be so good for me, like, doing that first lap, it's like, "Whew," but at the same time, it's great because you're getting more, like, the best workout. You don't even think you sweat that much, but, running around wearing all this gear, the helmet, the layers, the pads, um it it helps with, just physical exercise of, like, sweat, and then you have the team together of, like, "Let's go." We have our, what do you call it? Where you, like, get together and it's
Battle
like,
cry,
"Ravens on me," and then you say, like,
Oh
"Ravens," and then you,
yeah, the
like,
battle cry.
Yes,
the
exactly.
huddles and stuff.
Um
Yeah.
So it's been great for that of, like, you just kinda have that sense of accomplishment, um, and then again, community of we did it together. Like, no matter, even if you're hard on yourself, like, Man, I did a crap job today." It's like, but you showed up, and that's number 1 of just doing anything, honestly, like, going, um going to a regular gym, just going for a walk, like, you showed up and you put the effort in. It doesn't matter if maybe it wasn't 100, like, 20%. The hardest part is just putting on your fucking shoes and going to the location that you need to go to and do it?
Mhm.
So, it's been good for, my social anxiety and
Hell
making
yeah.
friends, because I didn't know anybody on the team, so it forced me to talk to people, and it's like, "Oh, what are you doing afterwards?" Like, "Oh, something's going on. Yeah, I'll show up." And so it's been good of that.
That's awesome.
Okay, Josh, you look like you had some. Did something pop up in your mind?
No.
Okay, good, because I have a question. So, well, big surprise, right? So,
Yeah.
um,
Big
in
surprise.
terms of like people in uniform, right? They always say
Mhm.
like when someone puts a uniform on, they kind of adopt a different identity. And I know women oftentimes market like different products and things like that as, hey, when I wear this color, I feel a certain way. How
Oh,
has
yeah.
adopting this warrior outfit, the helmet, the pads, the everything, how does that affect you? Do you feel like a different Kaitlynn when you put all that shit on?
Sometimes, I had sent actually a picture to my coworker of me in my uniform, and she was like, "Oh, you look like a tough teddy bear." And so now it's kind of been adopted as, my nickname is, Tough Teddy. So,
I love it.
you
That
know
should be
Funny.
your Instagram handle right there. The
Yeah,
tough
Tough
Teddy.
Teddy.
Tough
Yeah.
Teddy.
Although sometimes, I'm, like, wearing the helmet, my cheeks are like this, and I'm just looking at you like, "Yeah, I guess
Dang.
that's what we're supposed to do." Um, but yeah, so it's kind of yeah, I've started to kind of do that, like, grunt a little bit during practice to, like, get in that, like, angry mindset of, like, "Yeah, I'm the tough Teddy, like, I'm gonna hurt somebody,
Mhm.
ram somebody." So, that's the
Mhm.
persona.
Well, that's cool. I want to let you go. I don't want to take up too much more time in case you have anything else. If you feel like showing your friends off, you always can. If any of the girls want to come on, they totally
Oh,
can.
yeah.
Just hit us up on IG, and
Oh,
we would love
yeah, for sure.
more stories because this is really unique and really cool. And as a man,
Yeah.
it's like so awesome to get the experience from the other side and see like what it's like when a woman puts on the uniform and goes out and does it.
yeah, being hard, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah.
There are some there are some women on here who have been, part of the football community in different teams as they've, changed, owners and names and whatnot for, like, the past 10 to 14 years, um, and their stories are pretty cool, so I'll extend that invite to them if they ever wanna talk about it with you guys, but,
Hell yeah.
yeah.
The origins.
The
Well, thank you
Yes,
origins
the
so
of the
much.
origins of them.
Ravens.
I hope you have a great rest of your night, and we'll make sure
Yeah.
that we share everything with you. To anyone that tuned in, thank you. And